Lawns could be transformed from something that uses water to something that captures and conserves water. So think of a lawn. And, people water their lawns, and we also put fertilizers on the lawns and insecticides and stuff like that on the lawns. And then when it rains, there's not much plant matter to hold the water. So there's lots of runoff and lots of poisons that go into the runoff. Maybe we could do that a little bit differently. So let's think about that. We could let our lawns grow. We could designate an area that says, here, this area is going to be a no-mow zone. Here's an area. Maybe it's a square, maybe it's a circle, maybe it's a triangle, but maybe it's in a corner, maybe it's in the middle. But this area is going to be a no-mow area, and we're going to block it off maybe if we have to make it look tasteful, but this area is going to be a no-mow area. And here's what happens. The grass is going to grow taller, but also there's trees are going to come up in that. Usually native trees, in my experience, are going to come up within that. And then you're going to have more plant matter, and then when the rain comes, the rain is going to cling to the plant matter. The rain is going to cling to the trees. So all of a sudden you've changed from a situation that's going to have a lot of runoff, and you've changed it into a situation where there's a lot less runoff, because there's nothing better to capture runoff than plant matter on top of healthy soil. And the way that you get healthy soil is to let plants grow in it. There's no bigger blessing for soil than to let a diversity of plants grow in the soil. Why don't we do that? So it says here, it's a lot of fossil fuel usage with little to commend it but conformity to prevailing norms. So the prevailing norms I'm talking about are, lawn mowing is something that we do because the neighbors have done it, because our parents did it, because our grandparents did it, because the city demands it, because the neighbors demand it. And, to some extent we have to go with the flow, but to some extent we can go a little bit against the flow and have a lawn that captures the rainwater. And there's no better water for your lawn and your plants than rainwater and the water that resides in the soil. That is plant available water that stays for a long time in the soil, if it's good soil, and if it's got plant matter on top and leaf litter on top. So instead of conforming to prevailing norms, we could instead populate our lawns with diverse communities of mostly volunteer plants and trees. Volunteer plants and trees means they come up by themselves. They say, hey, I'd like to grow here. Please don't cut me down. Volunteer trees are a tremendous resource. For one thing, they're probably going to grow well because they germinated to begin with. You don't have to wonder if they're going to germinate because they already did. There's something about your soil that makes them want to grow right there in that spot. So if we've got volunteer plants and trees that absorb rainfall and store water within plant matter and soil, gradually releasing relatively clean, usable water into the streams and waterways. So if we have volunteer plants and trees, they're going to capture the rainfall, they're going to nurture healthy soil, and that groundwater is going to be gradually released into the streams and waterways. Much better for it to be gradually released into the streams and waterways than to run off gradually because there's no plant matter and there's not good soil and it goes very suddenly into the streams and waterways. Well, that's warm, polluted water that that rushes through there. It's not good for ecosystems. It's not good for living things. It's not good for the people downstream that have to experience the flood that we created because we didn't have enough on our lawns to capture the rainfall. There is a better way. In fact, there is a much better way.